Hello and welcome to the West Yorkshire Football Show live. We're taking a look at Man City 2, Leeds United 1. I'm Stephen Brown, and joining me as ever to discuss everything to do with the Whites, it is Jason Booker.
Jason... I don't even know. I don't even know what to say, what to start with.
Well, my reaction to the game has changed significantly, probably because of, I don't know, 70 minutes onwards, or especially since we got the goal back. But I mean, let's just go back to the beginning. Let's try and get some order to this. Go back to the beginning. Meslier dropped. Yeah, Meslier dropped. Couple of changes in the team sheet. What did you make of that?
Yeah, I mean, some people were saying, it's going to be 5 at the back. I straight away knew it was going to be a 4-1-4-1. You could see it written all over it for me. Rasmus, for me, has got no future in any sort of top level at fullback. But because being a centre-back is pretty much put your head on it, clear it away, he can manage it a little bit easier, I think. So it makes sense. Cog needed to come out, and it was the right choice. Meslier needed to come out, and it was the right choice. And we've seen for weeks, this were all vindicated over the 90 minutes. I thought Forshaw, I think, has probably done enough over little cameos to get a start. I thought he was our best midfielder. I thought he was a plus. He made one mistake where he was put under pressure. Man City are a fantastic side. He made one mistake in the 70-odd minutes that he were on. I thought it was brilliant. Well, not brilliant, but I thought it was good. Yeah. And then Nonto started the last game anyway, didn't he? I think that was the rest of the changes on it. Firpo played left back. Yes. Firpo got cooked a couple of times by Mahrez, but again, you can't be too critical of somebody getting done by.
Yeah, you can't stop it completely.
No, I mean, for me, the 2 goals were the responsibility of the midfielders. We've seen that goal before.
We saw the pullback.
Yeah,
I can't watch the pullback any more times.
Lerma did it last week.
Get back out, get back out, just stop. Oh yeah, it drove me insane when I seen that.
But that, I've written down a set of positives and a set of negatives. There were some real positives in that. Forshaw being one of them. I thought Robles was excellent. I thought Robles was excellent. I never worried in that game for a second that he was going to make a blunder. The only looking blunder that happened was
wobble, didn't it? Yeah,
that was Rasmus's fault. That was Rasmus's fault because the keeper's coming. There's no way that an experienced keeper like Robles hasn't screamed keepers, right? So he gets that, and Christensen still jumps up and tries to head it. So, but then he still had the kind of wherefore to make up for it and actually make a really good save. So I thought it was excellent, Robles.
I liked him. Did you see him back in the team huddle at the start?
I did.
Oh, that's good, is that? That's projecting a bit of confidence. And, he made that save from Haaland really early on. You thought, good start to it, because those have been flying in against Meslier. Ones that they should save have been going in past him. So,
he looked strong. He looked composed. I was really impressed with him. He came and collected a couple and, didn't look under any... Yeah, punched.
As well.
This needed to happen weeks ago. Yeah, the Fulham game, we could have got something out of that if Robles were in there that day. It's fine margins, but anyway, there's no point.
He has to start going forward, does it? That's it now.
He's the number one for the rest of the season. It's the number one for the rest of the season for me. Yeah. You don't want to be chopping and changing it again. Now, we've seen enough to see that he can, still get down to chances and handle himself in terms of a shot stopping, because sometimes as keepers get older, they might get a little bit slower in getting down. There's nothing he can do with either of the goals. So for me, he's number one for the rest of the season. I thought Forshaw were a real positive. I really did. He's under a lot of pressure in them areas, and the times where he did have opportunity to get on the ball, he looked composed. He tried to find the passes. He was quick into moments where he was trying to, pinch the ball so we could try and get on the counter. If he didn't pinch the ball, he took the player out, which is part of that job sometimes. You have to do the experienced, smart thing as a midfielder. There was a subtle positive, and I'm not going to go OTT with it, but I thought Weston McKennie was decent as well. And I thought that he looked like he wanted it today. That's, for somebody that I've really questioned, and Leeds fans have really questioned in terms of commitment and desire, when, all we needed were a bit more of it against Bournemouth, against Leicester, against these teams in and around us. Today, it'd been very easy for a player like him to kind of shirk responsibility and go missing. and he didn't. Yeah. He tried to the end. You know, he was into players. He was backing orders. Like I thought it was a positive to come from today's game.
Yeah, there were a brilliant bit actually. The brilliant ball that he played over crossfield ball, and it went to Bamford, and Bamford did this weird spin and first time kick across the penalty area that was just so incredibly poor, and summed up Bamford's day. And I want to do it later, but Bamford. Oh my god,
he was the top of my negative list today. He was awful. It was awful.
Well, let's just deal with it, because I was just this guy. Every time the ball went near him, he lost it, and it's never acknowledged by commentary teams. It's never acknowledged ever. But the ball would come to him in that first half, and you're under so much pressure. You haven't got the possession of the ball. The ball came to him in sometimes acres of space, and his decision making a pass that doesn't make it, losing the ball, handballing the ball under no
just
pressure.
From a simple bounce.
That bit where McKennie plays the ball through, and it's such a good position to be in, and he kind of spins and just kicks it across. He can't run with the ball. He can't dribble with the ball. He can't finish. We know he can't finish. What is he offering this team now? I'm just at a loss, because I was saying, get Rutter on or something different. Please, can we see something different than this guy? I just don't understand why managers don't see this. He just does not offer us anything anymore. I get under Bielsa in that time period, he was critical to how we played. I acknowledge
he was really good at the pressing. That was what he was really good at. But we don't press. We don't press now.
No, we're not getting anything.
I agree with you. I agree with you. I agree with you completely. And, you know, he's had flashes of moments where, you know, he's come up with a goal or whatever. But for me, his all-round game is it's actually hindering us a little bit. Yeah. So, yeah, no, for me, I mean, he had a stinker. When you go to grounds like that and play teams like Man City, you absolutely need a target man to be able to hold the ball in, win free kicks, run it into the channels and flick it off a defender out for a throw-in. He literally gave us nothing in that first half. Nothing. And then when he does get on the ball, his lack of mobility and his fluidity in his body, it's just a real problem. I mean, for me, he won't start. I'd be sat. Again, you know, we get that one moment, and we're jumping all over the place in the stages of this game, but you get that one moment. If that falls to Bamford, we don't score.
No.
It falls to Rodrigo, and we do score. Now, you know, if City had have only managed to get one before that could have been the difference between a point and not. And I mean, in the grand scheme of things, we came into this game fully expecting to get drubbed, and first half they could have been completely outside. But the facts are is that's football matches. We didn't give them any. You know, we didn't give them too many really, really guilty chances. We gave them a few, but you're gonna concede a few chances to Man City. So we kept ourselves in the game to somewhat, and I think the big picture of this result is massive. Like it could be Sam has spoken a lot about it could be a 0-0. It could be a this, it could be a that. The fact that the players could confidently walk over to the fans at the end of the game, clap them off properly, give the shirts away, get a bit of camaraderie and a buoyancy to it. I think it's huge, Brownie. I really do.
Yeah,
but Bamford.
Yeah, I mean, I've got to say, I was so demoralised and deflated at that first half. So my thought at the end of the first half was, how have we got to this point that Leeds United are such a terrible, useless team that they can't... I mean, we couldn't even string a pass together. We were treating the ball like a hot potato. I think a lot of that falls on Bamford, though, because there were no release valve. There were no release valve at all from it. Ball just kept coming back because this guy can't hang on to the ball at all, does nothing, doesn't win you any free kicks. And the Bamford whinge as well goes down. He's like, just get up and carry on. Nothing's happened.
Can you imagine a prime Kevin Davis for Sam? Like, I don't
make a call.
Yeah, give him a ring.
He's only 50.
I don't want to become that team, but right now needs must and all that. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Like, when you've got no outlet, it doesn't even matter if the pass then is on
No.
target because it's just bouncing back and coming back at us anyway.
It It winds me up though. Sorry to interrupt, but it winds me up because there'll be no analysis of this from any
it's
of
weird,
the reporters. Like on Match of the Day,
yeah, it's
Sky
strange,
Sports pundits, none of them. It'll be complete silence about Bamford, and I don't understand it. I don't understand it.
Yeah, it's a weird one. It is
But
a weird one.
That first half, I was very demoralised. I just thought how far we've fallen, and it looks like a League Two team versus a Champions League team. I know all things considered with Man City, but Sheffield United were putting up a better fight than we were in the FA Cup than Leeds did, and I was completely demoralised. But then when it's only 2-0 at half time and you're expecting it to have been 5 or 6 or 7-0, and you do have more confidence in your keeper, you get into the second half, and I didn't feel, I mean, it's kind of a bit of a blur, but I didn't feel like you say, there weren't too many gilt-edged chances coming their way. It was like they're always going to create chances, and it was a bit of a stroll for them at times. But I think you could be right, because I think that last 15 minutes or that last 20 minutes, we've shown more there just in terms of a bit of spirit and just showing something that you think actually that could be huge going forward. And I think against Newcastle, against, not Man City,
not Man City, yeah,
there is a chance we could do it. My only concern is the Bamford situation. If you keep playing Bamford, you're going to get the same results. You're going to get the same issues every game, but he's got the halo on him.
I think, I mean, I'll touch on Bamford in a minute. I think when you play Man City, you play for moments, don't you? And I think Sam will be seeing it like that as well. Like tactically trying to prepare for that game, you play for moments like the Rodrigo moment that we got. It bounced. Gundogan kind of got trapped under two players. It weren't a foul for me. Then Akanji makes a mistake and Rodrigo ball breaks for him and we score. They are the moments that you're playing for, and you're doing your utmost in the moments where City are going to dominate possession. You're doing your utmost to make sure that you limit the potential. Like there were a couple of half chances, weren't there, for Alvarez? He blazed one over and stuff like that. Like you have to get a bit of luck. You have to bank on your keeper to save a couple, make a couple of decent saves, and you have to try and make sure that for you to get something out of the game, you need no more than one goal.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? So. And we put ourselves nearly in that position, like not quite, but nearly. And I just think, for me, I weren't as demoralised as what you're sounding like for the first half. Like I fully expected us to be dealing with a lot in that first half. I expected it to be 3-4 at half time, even under Big Sam, and then they may take the foot off the gas. Haaland weren't quite at the races in terms of his finishing, which was good for us, but that happens. Like that's football. And there were some okay bits in that first half. For me, it was positive to just see players throwing themselves in front of the ball, really committing to trying at least as much as they could to get something out of this game. Not just it's Man City, sod it. You know what I mean? So
yeah, absolutely. I've dropped a question in there. Should Bamford be dropped? Martin, thanks for your comment, mate. Yes. Harrison wasn't very good either. No, he wasn't. Definitely not. I think first half, I think it for me, I kind of slipped into a kind of existential crisis about the whole thing. I was like, how far have we fallen as a football team? Where
I felt like that at the beginning.
Yeah, we're getting this manager, and we've got this manager in for 4 games. It's such a desperate Hail Mary. But I feel like towards the end, you could almost see like a little bit of confidence return, apart from Pascal Struijk, who I don't even know what that cameo appearance was. Like, he gives a penalty away, and then did you see it a little bit later on where he had a chance to like just make a simple pass, and he ends up ballooning?
Pass it back to Robles. Pass it back to Robles, and he tries to play it to Ayling and just kicks it out of play. Yeah, I mean, for me, he's not good enough. He's just not good enough. I will laughing to myself, probably a bit of a crisis, like you say, right at the beginning where it flashes up on Sky with the Leeds team, and it's Sam Allardyce's big face with Leeds United underneath, and I was like, how did we get it? Like, how has this happened? Like, we're not in the Championship anymore. Like, what's going on here? But like I like a lot of what he's trying. I think, right now we're in a situation where it was either this or Gracia, and we have more chance with this, with Sam, with Carl Robinson, with Robbie, with Robbie Keane. Like, you can see at least a little bit of something. I think, like, I'm not just saying it to myself to make myself feel better. I think we would have got comprehensively smashed to bits today under Gracia. And, did we deserve to only lose 2-1? No. But we also didn't deserve to lose 4-5-6-1, I wouldn't have said. Like, on the basis of the overall defensive performance. Like, there were some really good parts of defending, especially from Voba. I thought Voba were excellent. Like, reading the game really well, positioning himself. Yeah,
feels like a proper defender.
He's a good defender, whereas the rest of us defenders are poor at best. Like, Ayling got cooked so many times, and not watching Foden over his shoulder, and Firpo can't defend for his life. But like I said, I think we have to take some positives. I go into the Newcastle game now not expecting, but feeling like we might be able to get something. The more and more I think about it, I don't know if you saw the tippy tappy that he did with that Sam did with Wes Brown. But Wes Brown spoke about something that he did at Sunderland when he came in, Big Sam, where he blocked the games into like sections and how many points they're going to try and get in them blocks of games. So, from the start of the season or whatever, it'd be the next day, the target 10 points based on the level of the opponents that they're facing. And I'd like to think that he's probably done something similar with this game in Newcastle, and he's probably targeted 1 point. That's how I believe he's probably looked at it. Just to take the pressures off the players a little bit. And then, look, West Ham and Spurs targets 4 points. Yeah. You know what I mean? And if they can come out of it with that, we've got 2 games at home now. And then 1 away against the West Ham side who we're going to be concentrating on Europe. They're probably safe. It's there for us on the back of that performance and result.
Hang on a second. Are you getting hope again, Jason?
Yes, I'm getting hope. I still think we're going to go down. Unfortunately. Just because
it's impossible not to, though, isn't it? It's impossible not to think that. Because I absolutely agree. I think if we keep Gracia today, Meslier is still in net, and we lose a record-breaking number of goals there, 100%.
There were, I would say, during that game, 5 moments where I thought, Meslier, I let that go in. The one where Mahrez whipped a free kick to the near post, Meslier had been all over for that. And it'd have been, what a finish by Mahrez. Opportunistic. He's seen the keeper positioning for... No, that's a chance that a decent Premier League keeper should save, that's got his head in the right place and is confident. There were a header that Haaland that put pretty much central that I thought, Robles has got a good position here. If he tracked the ball coming across and he put himself in a great position, Meslier had been out of position and that had gone in. I feel certain of it. There were one of the Haaland chances which I'd have felt that Meslier had let in. So,
what a difference, isn't it? What a difference! I felt like by the end of it, you're starting to get a little bit of confidence back. What did you think of someone like Rocker? I thought it was just anonymous today. I think I don't quite know what he did, and for me, he strikes me as a bit of someone who's completely lost his confidence at the minute.
Rocker, he was set. He was obviously set early. I don't know if you saw to man Mark De Bruyne. He was pinned to him for about 10 minutes.
That's got to be the worst job in football, hasn't it?
It's so good. And then De Bruyne kept on pulling onto the wing and basically standing on Firpo, pretty much on the touchline. And Mark Rocker was like, I can't go all the way out there because look at all the space I'm going to leave. So you saw pretty much after 50 minutes he abandoned it. And there was an instruction for Rocker to just sit centrally. I mean, again, he struggled today. And there's going to be players that didn't look great today because of the way that we were having to play. I think Jack Harrison's one of them. I think Nonto's another. I thought both of them struggled. You said it a couple of weeks back about wingers struggling to really be, able to influence the game when you're having to play in such a way. And for me, I think it's harsh to criticise Harrison or Nonto for today. Rocker's just not mobile enough. He's not mobile enough. And so then when he's needing to make up ground, midfielders are just running away from him. Yeah. I stand by the fact that he'll look good in a better team. Yeah. Team with more possession. But he's. But what option do we have? We don't have any other options.
I mean, it just makes you yearn for Tyler Adams, doesn't it? If we had Tyler Adams now, I mean, I don't think we'd be quite in the mess that we are anyway. I think
we have another 3 or 4 points.
Yeah, 100%. If you had a destroyer running around like that, just covering the holes, none of the others really do that. So definitely. Thanks for your comments, everyone. Rob Les was good. Martin, yeah, absolutely. He's got to be a starter now for every game to the end of the season. Martin,
I don't know about not fearing Newcastle. Like, I mean, that performance.
But do you think it's a little not as for me? It obviously doesn't feel up to the level of Man City.
No,
and I almost feel as if there is a bit of something there for us. I think potentially.
It's not as daunting as Man City.
No.
Absolutely not. But I mean, they're still a very, very good side. And I would see it as a shock if we were managed to pull off 3 points in that game. I'm not saying that we can't get a point. We got a point from them earlier on in the season, but I think they're a bit of a different beast right now. Isaac's playing really well, and they've just got quality and they've got confidence and they've got a lot to play for too. So it's a tough game. It's a tough game. I'd take a point right now and go into the last two thinking we need 4. That'd be the position that I'd be in. Just before we go on to other bits, I just want to mention this because I'm going to forget otherwise. I think it's, and without going through an auto bashing all over again, I think it's absolutely staggering that we've now had another manager come in and Jorginho Rutter didn't come on the pitch today. Like, when he brought Aronson on for Bamford, I thought, this is a problem now. This is a problem. Another experienced manager don't rate this lad. And we've seen flashes of him being good enough, but clearly either attitude or just ability in training is not making these managers feel like they can play Rutter. Because I'd have brought Rutter on up front when they brought Aronson on. But he's seen him for the last 3 days and not fancying him. Yeah. So what does that say about that recruitment? And I mean, I'm not saying that we'd have won the game or got out of the game today, but again, if we have Gyökeres up front today instead of Bamford, and we could have had him for a third of the price that we paid for Jorginho Rutter. So I don't know what your feelings are on that, but I just thought it were a real damning indictment of that recruitment again.
Yeah, no, 100%, because it's funny as well, because you think, okay, you drop Bamford and you slot Rodrigo in there, but you just know it's different with Rodrigo's a different type of forward. His movement, the way he is, he's not that kind of hold up kind of, striker. Fantastic goal by him, by the way he took that, brilliant, But yeah, no, I agree. I think it's a damning indictment on the recruitment policy. And we know it's been absolutely horrendous the way they've built this squad. Like, how you come into this season with 3 right backs and 1 left back just tells you everything. And to sign a forward for 35 million who was disappeared, completely disappeared.
In January,
in January. I mean, when you see Jorginho Rutter, I think the body language is a problem. And this is obviously, I'm not there on the training pitch every day, but when he's covering his hands and he looks quite, I don't know, as if he wouldn't say boo to a ghost, he looks as if he's a little bit timid, and maybe that's, someone like Allardyce, that's just not going to be up their street. But, it's difficult when we never see him on the pitch. I thought his best game for Leeds against Fulham in the FA Cup is when we saw him for the 90 minutes. And I would have loved to have seen him today, because we got nothing from Bamford anyway. What's the risk? What's the risk?
It just makes me it just makes me want to bang my head against the wall, though, again, with this Hollywood signing. Like, and again, please don't, jump all over me when I say this, but even Chris Wood would have been a better signing for what we needed for the rest of this season. You know what I mean? Look at what Newcastle did with him last season. They signed him, they threw him in, and come the summer, it weren't good enough, and they moved him on. That's the way that clubs work. That's the way that football works. It's brutal. And if we needed to do that with Chris Wood, then so be it. He gets good money out of his contract. He's that's fine. But instead, we put it into this potential project when we're so perilously just above the relegation zone. Not that we shouldn't, but it must get irritating for the fan base to kind of just constantly hear stuff and talk about recruitment. But it is such a problem. Again, just that one signing could have made the difference of 4 or 5 points for us, and we wouldn't be sweating right now. Yeah, but we are because of it. So,
but he had to. I mean, there's just no question he had to go. And even if it means that this summer, whether we stay up or go down, because if we stay up, it's a huge rebuild to that squad, and it's a huge decision who comes in and manages the club. So you've got two huge positions you've got to fill, and then you've got to think about the squad. That is not an easy thing. And then if you go down, you've got the same pressure doubled probably, because you're then without the revenue. Obviously, you get your parachute payment, but then there's a lot of wheeling and dealing you're going to have to do in the Championship as well. And it's going to be really difficult. What did you make of? It's difficult to say, but Carl Robinson, very kind of vocal, I saw him chatting to the defenders before the game, and very kind of animated and very kind of.
So was Robbie, wasn't
he? Yeah, and I wonder how. I feel like almost it has G'd them up a little bit, just from
definitely
how they've acted. I mean, potentially, if we go into Championship, do we get?
Oh, don't stop that! No, stop that! I'd rather.
I could see us doing that.
I'd rather have Sam. Stop it. I mean, he's well regarded as a good coach.
Yeah.
I mean, we were in for him before. I remember it being. I remember it happening at the time, and me feeling don't really want Carl Robinson, but he did a decent job at MK Dons. He did a decent job at Oxford, I believe, before getting sacked earlier on this year. Were it Charlton he were at as well?
Yeah, Charlton as well, wasn't it? Yeah.
So I mean, as part of this backroom staff. Yeah, I can see it. I don't know loads about him, but I know he's well regarded as a coach. The insider training video that came out the other day, you saw him doing a bit and trying to have a bit of fun with the players. Yeah. You saw Sam having a bit of a laugh with a couple of them. I'm not saying that I'm happy with this situation, because how can we be happy with this situation? But again, it's the best of what we could hope for, given the situation that the board have put us in. With 4 games to go, if Sam had come in before Fulham, I think there's a real chance that he could have got enough points out of Fulham, Bournemouth, Leicester. I really do, because I can see from what he's done in only a few days that he's probably got a bit of buy-in. We know there's some ability there, not loads, but there's some ability, and we've got a defensive-minded or first-thought defensive-minded coach in place now that he's able to obviously put his points across. I mean, we've got to see. This is one game, 3 days after he's taken over. We've got to see now what they lead into the next 3. I don't want to get too carried away with it. I think the performance has given us some hope.
Yeah, I mean, to go to the Etihad in the form that Man City are in, 9 back-to-back wins on the trot, blowing teams away with multiple goals, just to lose 2-1, and actually just give them, a punch in the mouth, just give them a jab on the nose and say, yeah, we are a football team that can do something. I mean, at the end, they didn't send anyone up for the corners. Pep's going crazy.
He was mad,
Gundogan and Haaland for the penalty thing.
That's the first time, Brownie.
Gundogan, did he, when he went off?
No, he walked straight off, didn't he? That's the first time that they've not scored 3 goals at home since March.
Yeah.
So, they're blowing everybody away, not just the teams towards the bottom, European teams, top Premier League teams. Look what they did to Arsenal a few weeks ago. So, if we'd have lost 4 or 5 today, it wouldn't have been that much of a shock for me. I wanted to see us keep it low, be respectable, show commitment to it. And they did. And they did, and to the point where we went into the last seconds of that game still with a chance of getting a point.
Yeah.
So we have to build on some of the positives, they're exceptional. They're absolutely exceptional. They are so good.
Ridiculous team.
Some of the patterns of play. I mean, there were a moment in the first half where they played 10 passes through the middle of the pitch within 5 seconds, I would say, and they cut us completely open. Boom, boom, boom. Nothing the lads could do about it. Sometimes you just have to accept, fair play, unbelievable movement and pass. So,
yeah, I agree. Ted here, thanks for your comment, mate. Similar to what you said earlier, Jason. First game, McKennie looked like full effort. You wonder with McKennie, actually, because if you think of the type of manager Jesse Marsh is, motivator, that kind of personality, Big Sam, you will probably say is more in that category than Javi Gracia. And you just wonder if the chemistry between McKennie and Gracia was completely off, and now actually you've got a bit of a blood and thunder type of manager. It may translate to his performance. Do you think there's any credence in that?
100%. There is absolutely no way that Sam Allardyce didn't watch the games that we've watched and seen what Western were putting out, and then still played him without something happening between Wednesday and today. He obviously, knows of his pedigree and what he can bring, but he must have had a conversation with him where he's felt enough to say, I can trust him. Got him on long throws. We didn't know we had that, by the way.
Seen that bullet throw?
Yeah, where did that come from? Like, why have we not seen that? Like, I mean, I don't want to become, Rory Stoke, but especially in that kind of game, we've played Arsenal, fairly recently. Like, why has that not come up before? It felt to me as if Sam went, right, who's got a long throw? And Weston's gone, well, I have actually. Yeah, it's not too bad. And then all lads have been like, we didn't know you could do that.
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous, isn't it? Did you see him screaming at him? Where's?
Yeah.
Stitches.
Yeah, that was brilliant. Ian, feeling a lot more confident for the last 3 games. Do you know what? I think the Allardyce move as well. You heard the fans backing as well when they're chanting marching on together, and they're chanting about the 70th minute before we scored. And it felt like one of those moments where it was like, come on, lads. And then you could see that extra 10% in the challenges, in the pressing. We get the goal, and it just feels a little bit like there might be light at the end of the tunnel. I mean, if we look at the league table, so Leeds obviously in 17th place now. Forest, Everton, Leicester have got games in hand on Leeds. We know that. Yeah. Leeds' goal difference, I think that was critical. Yeah. Not to get smashed today, because when it went to 2-0, I thought, oh my God, we're gonna lose our advantage here. But we're still 7 goals better off than Nottingham Forest, which is huge. Obviously, we're miles away from Leicester now. We're minus 25, they're minus 13. Everton are also on minus 25, and they play Brighton on Monday. Please, Brighton, smash them 3-4 for us. Please don't do what you did against Forest a couple of weeks ago. Get the business done for us. I mean, how much do we need those games, those results to go for us? My worry is we've got to the point where we've had a little bit of hope in the performance, but the league table is going to take it away and we could be in that bottom 3, and then it's a whole new kind of mental battle as well.
This is the way that I see it, right? Like, goal difference could make a huge difference, and you're absolutely right. I think keeping it to just 1 today was huge. It was almost as good as a point. Not quite, but almost as good. And I think I see it that the kind of end goal is 34 points. I think 34 points is going to be the points total that 18 finishes on. That's what I think. So 34 and a better goal difference, or 35 and above, is going to keep you up. So with that in mind, that's now where we're at. Like, 34 points could be good enough, dependent on what Everton ship. Hopefully they lose an Everton ship on Monday. I think Forest versus Southampton is huge. Like, it's absolutely massive. If Forest win that game, I think we're down. Because I just think that they've probably got another point or 2 in them if they win that game.
Yeah, that's the one, isn't it? Where it's just, you just think, oh my goodness me. Guys, 100%. Please like the video, get your comments in, subscribe to the channel. The Nottingham Forest game is just
massive, mate.
Southampton in it. They've got bottom of the league at home. They beat Brighton at home last time. It's just
Southampton are not going to have given up. They're going to see that as their last opportunity. Like, you hear of great escapes all the time. Like, there's nothing. I don't think that's a banker for Forest. I would expect them, if they've got any hope of staying up, to go and win that game. Yeah. But I wouldn't be shocked if I saw a reverse. Southampton are a funny side. They've gone. I think they've beaten Chelsea this year. They've beaten Man United. They drew against Arsenal. They've taken some. I saw a thing the other day tell the Southampton fan that they'd have beaten all these teams or got points in all these games and that they would be bottom. Like, they wouldn't believe it, but they are where they are. But they have got, I think, enough in them to win that game.
Yeah.
So,
come on, Southampton, absolutely. All Southampton, aren't we? Yeah, absolutely. Come then. I mean, I'm just praying that we can just stay out of the relegation zone. We've got that hardest, ridiculous game out of the way. We've got a little bit of optimism back. if we can just stay out of that relegation zone. But I mean, we've done well not to go into it already, haven't we? Really?
I think we'll be in it Monday.
Yeah.
Like, no way all three of them results just go for us.
No.
I think Leicester have got Fulham away. Are we 17th now?
We're 17th, yeah. Leicester
is
on goal difference. Yeah.
Everton have got Brighton away. Yeah, is that right? And Forest have got Southampton at home. Yeah, I don't see that we'll be going to the Newcastle game not in the bottom three. That doesn't scare me more than the position that we're already in. I just hope that the results are somewhat favourable to us. Even Forest drop 2 points. You know, if I could take it now that Southampton take a point from that game, I'd take it right now. Yeah, and bank on the fact that we can get 4 or 5 points to then keep us up, and Forest don't get many more after that.
No, exactly. After that, Forest have got Chelsea at home now. What did Chelsea do today? They were
drawing 1-1, weren't they?
They beat Bournemouth, so hopefully they've found a bit of form.
Go on, Frank.
Yeah, go on, big Frank. Go on, lad. So hopefully they're kind of maybe got a little bit of a boost, and maybe they've just turned it around a little bit, can beat Forest, and then after that, Forest have got Arsenal as well. And then they finish up with Crystal Palace. So just if Southampton can get something from that game, really, that would just be perfect. I mean, like you say, though, not all results are going to go for us. There's no way all those results are going to go for us. But we're desperate for something now when you look at that form.
We've had that all season, haven't we, Brian? We've been lucky for a long time that the results haven't gone against us really that often. As such, we're all equally as shit. to be honest with you, that's the position that we're in, and I think, I just think we have to take the positives from what we've kind of seen today, and the fact that it weren't an absolute smashing. Yeah. And hopefully we can just come out of Newcastle with something.
Yeah. Yeah. Just, the bleeding had to stop. That was the most important thing, because, we were doing fine under Gracia for that start. We were absolutely ticking over. We were picking up the occasional win, and then obviously it's collapsed, and we've completely messed up our goal difference in April. We've broken that record in April as well. But now it feels almost like we've clawed some sense of normality back a little bit today. It feels like 2-1 at the Etihad is not a disaster.
No, definitely. I mean, they could quite easily win all the games. So go.
Yeah. No. That's all I'm going to say.
They could quite easily win every single game between now and the end of the season, including the Champions League final, or semi-finals and a final. Like they are exceptional. They are probably the best side we've ever seen in the Premier League. They are so good, and they have multiple, talent pools in every position. Arguably our best. One of our best two players last season can't even get on the pitch. I felt sure he'd come on. I mean, if they were cruising, I bet he probably would have done. But they still had to bring Rodri on. You know what I mean? Like, it's wild just how good they are. And then they've got players like Rico Lewis coming through as well, who's playing games. What a player, you know what I mean? Yeah. They have an injury to Nathan Ake and bring on Kyle Walker. I'm like, come on now. You know what I mean?
Not fair. No. What do you think Allardyce has learned about the Leeds players today? So maybe certain individuals or the group. What do you think he's picked up?
Great question. And I mean, I'd love to ask him. That is what I'd love to know. I think he'll have seen. I think he'll be happy. I do. Yeah. I think he'll be like, you know what? We can do this. That's how I feel he will be feeling tonight. I think he'll have seen what he really wanted to see out of Verba, especially. Keeping him fit is massive. I mean, for me, it's make or break. If he doesn't come out against Newcastle, I'd instantly be 50% less confident than what I would be. You know what I mean? He's massive. I think he'll be pleased with the midfield as a whole, Forshaw and McKennie especially. I think it's hard to say, like, what does he really take out of Harrison and Nonto's game today? It's so tough to get him involved. And again, like you said earlier, I think he'll be disappointed with Pat. And if Pat has a better game, he gets them to involved a little bit more often. Jack Harrison whipped a fantastic ball in behind him at the end of the first half, I think it was. Maybe just after they'd gone 2 up. We know he's got quality. So, but again, if you've not got the man at 9 that can link all that together, what hope do you have? Yeah. So, I think there'll be parts of that. I think there'll be a lot of that he'll be happy with. I think he'll be absolutely over the moon with Robles' performance.
Yeah.
For me, he was our man of the match today. I thought it was excellent. I really did.
And should have been in 10 games ago, shouldn't he, really? Ishtar, thanks for your comments, mate. Robles, Rasmus, Ayling, Verber, Firpo, McKennie, Rodrigo will be in Sam's good books. Forshaw, not bad. What do you expect him to do with the team then, Jess? Do you think it'll kind of... Do you expect Rocker, Forshaw and McKennie to be the midfield trio now going forward?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. Interesting to see Sam come back in for nearly 30 minutes. After not playing at all under Gracia, in a position that I know and really isn't his first position at centre midfield. But again, it shows the limited options that we have, really. I would imagine it'll be very similar. I would imagine that Rasmus will continue at centre back alongside Verber. Firpo and Ayling will probably start at fullbacks. I would say there'll probably be a small question mark over Rocker. Him getting hooked after 55 minutes or whatever probably says that Sam didn't see enough from him. Given his experience, he's obviously, again, his pedigree. I would imagine Harrison and Nonto will start again. I could see Rodrigo coming in, but it's just, he can't give us that target man-esque presence. At all, whereas Bamford at least might be able to do it for 10% of the game. It's a tricky one. We're just I've said for 2 years we need another 9. Yeah. And it's unbelievable that we're still talking about it. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Ishtar, all Rocker, no roll. Yeah, it feels like that a little bit, doesn't it? Richo, evening. Hi, mate. Thanks for joining us. We've got some comments in now from Allardyce after the game. So this is from Phil here. Allardyce's reaction. So he said, you will probably all think, and rightly so, at half-time, how many is this going to be? We changed in terms of pushing up the pitch, not sitting as deep and making sure our possession became much, much better. I mean, it made me laugh when he said in the kind of first press conference that we're good in possession. I was like, bloody hell, how many has he been watching us at all? We're absolutely awful in possession. On Robles coming in, a massive call. One of the worst things you have to do going in as a manager is to take your goalkeeper out. There's not a lot I can knock Joe's performance with. No, absolutely not. And
I thought it was excellent. Yeah, I think that's been a bit unkind, almost like downplaying it. Like he came for crosses, like you say, he punched. He made, I'd say, 3 or 4 really good saves that I believe Meslier would have let through, especially the which was the best one? The near post Mahrez free kick, because that was a real,
wasn't it?
And I feel sure that Meslier had let that go in. So I thought he had a great game.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Sorry,
I agree. No, it's fine. On Forshaw, he said he could be tremendously important because it's been pointed out that midfield has been weak out of possession. He's got a lot of experience and know-how. I play different by playing 3 in there, which I think helps him. So, I mean, to be fair, a few people have been saying about getting the 3 in, especially when Forshaw got fit again. My worry is his fitness, Forshaw's fitness. I mean, he's likely to get out again, isn't he, before end of season?
Brownie. I mean, Marcelo Bielsa said when he came in season 1, I don't know if you know this, if you've seen this, he said that Adam Forshaw was the most talented player in the squad.
Yeah.
That's true. And bear in mind, we had Pablo Hernandez, Samo Saiz, we had Calvin Phillips in that squad, and he said that Adam Forshaw was the most talented player in that squad. He is a talented player. He's a very, very good footballer. He, without his injury record, I'm sure he'd have played 200 times in the Premier League. He probably would have done it, for lower end reach teams. I'm not ever saying that he can progress on, but he's played in the Premier League before Leeds. He played 30 odd games for Middlesbrough in the Premier League. So he's a good player, but his injury record is horrific. And the fact that we're now sat here again saying that our midfield hopes hinge on Adam Forshaw is wild. Like, it's crazy that is what I'm saying. Sam is saying Adam Forshaw could be vital. recruitment again, man. He's yeah, sure. Tyler Adams is injured. We might not be saying it if Tyler was fit, but you don't just have one option and then Adam Forshaw or Sam Greenwood.
No.
If Tyler Adams is injured, Tyler Adams should really be fighting it out with Calvin Phillips for that position or a player of that level of ability, but he's not. Yeah. He's got the position. If he's injured or suspended, Adam Forshaw comes in or Sam Greenwood comes in. It's crazy. Yeah, crazy.
Absolutely mad. I mean, you make a good point as well, an interesting point about Sam Greenwood coming back into the team after he'd virtually fallen off the edge of the planet before with Gracia. And you wonder, Big Sam set pieces, is it possibly? I mean, the thing with Sam Greenwood is, I saw him there were one point today where he got caught in possession where I'm screaming at the TV going, come on, get it out of your feet.
Yeah, I remember.
But he does have something about him. There is something there that's different, or
he's just not a centre midfielder. He's just not a centre midfielder. Like Bielsa's converted him, like he converted Tyler Roberts into a centre midfielder. Yeah. Like he's just not a centre midfielder. Technically, he's probably the best player that we've got in the squad from a dead ball situation.
Yeah,
like he's dead. I've seen him score 5, 6, 7 goals from free kicks for the 23s and whatnot over the last couple of years. He's a bit of a baller when it comes to set pieces. But he's a centre forward. He has played his whole career as a centre forward until Bielsa started playing him at centre midfield, and he just doesn't have the technical ability to play centre midfield. He's not got the awareness that you need to have in centre midfield. Gets caught in possession way too often. He's not good in the tackle. I had another Leeds fan argue with me that Sam Greenwood was good in the tackle. A few months back when people were calling for him to play that, I'm like, what are you talking about? Sam Greenwood is terrible in the tackle. That's not a slight on him. He played centre forward his whole career. I definitely think there's something in him. I think he's a championship level player personally. I think he'd look really good in a championship side, in behind a striker or whatever. Yeah, absolutely. Ted, since Bamford's serious foot injury, he's not close to a former player. Slow, poor balance, lacks physicality. Yeah, I mean, Jason, you pointed this out months ago, didn't you, about the fact that he's just lost that extra X factor that he had, that extra bit that he used to have there. You can just talk. I can talk about it from experience, and I've said this before. Like when your body starts failing on you, especially if you have serious injuries, it's not just physical; it's in your head. And you know, every time that Pat plants that injured foot or the foot that was injured, he'll be thinking, I don't want to rock it that way. I don't want to injure it. And you can just see it in his whole movement and fluidity. I do feel a bit sorry for him because the player that we had in season 1 of the Premier League is not the same player that we've got now. And that's due to injuries. It happens. It happens to lots of players.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Ishtar, are you lads proud of the effort today and how Sam has been an effect on our defensive commitment as well as Joel Robles' replacement decision? Yeah, absolutely. I think, to be honest, it's like I said, at the end of the first half, I was a bit demoralised, I think, with the whole picture of Leeds United. I just felt that, you know, to go and barely touch the ball is a bit embarrassing. But I think looking at it, the full context of the game, and actually it does feel a little bit like there's an uplift. And yeah, I am proud, and I'm glad that I could go over and clap the fans. And you know, what a difference 7 days makes.
Brownie, I mean, there'll be way better teams than us that come and have similar possession and similar chances on goal at the Etihad. Like, they are a fantastic side. Like, they are better than anything we've ever seen in this league for me. Yeah. Like, you know, and fair play to Arsenal for keeping up with them for so long this season. They're just sensational. So yeah, I think we can take loads from it. It's as positive as a result that we could really hope for without it being magical. Like without it being nuts, crazy, off the chart miracle. Yeah. Like, you know, the players will be chest up, chest out, going into training. You know, there'll be loads that they can, you know, be positive for, and there'll be loads that I'm sure Sam can analyse with them on Monday and use to improve for Newcastle. And I think for me, the fact that we've seen that they're in it for him and with him and in it for us. Like for me, I thought a couple of weeks ago that some of these had packed it in and thrown the towel in. And I think they had. I think they had. I think we finished the season under Gracia. I'd be surprised if we take another point. Whereas I feel like we might be able to get a few now. So
yeah. Well, it's that thing as well, isn't it? If you're dealing with someone like Big Sam, you get the feeling that you can't not be in it 100% committed because he's just going to go absolutely bonkers with you. And I wonder for him, I mean, I mentioned it on our midweek show as well about the fact that I think this is a much different challenge to the West Brom job. I know he's got hardly any games, but I think he doesn't want to finish his career, you know, with another relegation on his CV and not fighting and not keeping us up, especially when you see all the other old guys that are doing really good jobs and keeping teams up. You know, you probably think, why can't I do it? But it certainly gives us hope. You know, going into the game next week.
There were a moment, wasn't there, where he kind of looked up. I don't know if you noticed. He looked at the crowd and he smiled, and like they put the camera panned to him a few times. Like I can't think. It was Rocker. Rocker got a free kick about 10 yards inside their half in the first half and whipped it over the top of straight out of play, and the camera panned to him, and he went, "What a effing waste!" Like,
was it Rocker who hit that free kick?
It was Rocker who hit that free kick. Yeah, it was.
I thought it was Verber for some reason.
I'm sure it was Rocker. I'm sure it was Rocker anyway. But just like little more, you know, and he barely got off the touchline, did it the whole game. Like he went into it. He was absolutely into it. And Carl and Sam at the end getting the players together. I agree with you. I think he's fully invested. 4 games, whatever. Like he wants to make a success of this for sure.
Well, something as well that I had never thought about, and I heard it, I think, on the Phil Hay show when they were asking Allardyce about what happened at West Brom, and it was the COVID season, so they weren't able to get that in-person close. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Training had to be separate, and there was restrictions.
He had a really bad side as well, mate.
They had a really bad side.
Yeah. You know, they were relying on Robinson, the striker from Sheffield United, up front. They had, I think, they still had Robson Kanu. Like, I mean, my word. You know, the midfield, Romain Sawyers were past his best. Their best player was Conor Gallagher, and he was way beyond the peak that he's kind of found over the last maybe 18 months or so. He was nothing like the player he was at Palace the year after. No. Defensively, they were terrible. You know, they had Carl Bartley, didn't they? And Semi Ajayi at centre back. Like, you know, they were bad. They were a bad side. So
yeah, and they'd only got about a point, haven't they? I think Tom was saying that one. Yeah. What was going on with Haaland today? Was that some of the Leeds vibe coming out there? Think, what do the rest do?
I mean,
to be honest, some of those chances were hard though, because the cross that's whipped across and he headed it onto the bar. I think it was offside anyway, but it's whipped at him at about 100 miles an hour. Do you know what I mean?
But he missed some chances at Ellen Road, didn't he?
Yeah,
he missed a hatful at Ellen Road. I mean, the thing is with Haaland, like, it's not that he's perfect, because he does miss chances. When they played Arsenal, he missed about 5 before then scoring the last one.
Big chances.
Even the last chance that he had, he scuffed it a bit, and Ramsdale, it kind of went through Ramsdale. And I mean, the guy's a freak. Haaland is a machine. But what he's particularly good at is keeping on getting them chances. And he plays in the best team in the world, and they serve him up several chances. I mean, I saw Simon Jordan arguing with Jim White and a couple of others during the week about Haaland's, how good of a record it is, and he said, yeah, rightly so. You know, he's getting all the plaudits. The lad's a machine. But if you put Harry Kane in that side, he probably scores 35 as well, and he does. He's right. He's absolutely. You know, Harry Kane scoring 26-27 in a crap Tottenham team who always flunk it every year. So as much, and I love Haaland. Like, you know, I know he's a Leeds fan. Like, he's a Leeds boy. Like, he's got that connection, and I think he's a phenomenon to watch. But he's not, you know, perfect. He's definitely not perfect. I mean, there were a couple of days that he really should have scored. The 2 in the first half where he put them wide.
Yeah, I remember they were getting the Champions League against Bayern Munich, the second leg, and he could have wrapped it up himself way earlier than he ended up doing. But like you say, still getting those chances, the movement,
the physicality, you just can't deal with it, and
eventually he's going to score, isn't he? Apart from against Leeds.
It doesn't bother him either, mate. He misses a chance and he's straight up and he's like, pff, and that's the great sign of a super striker. Just being able to kind of think, all right, next one. You know what I mean? I mean, the one where he double-footed it on his right foot was hilarious.
Private side with that.
On your weak foot.
What about our old friend KP? Didn't make an appearance today. Generally speaking, what do you make of his time at Man City and how that's worked out for him? Do you think it's going to come good later on, or is it likely that he's going to move on?
I feel sorry for him. I feel sorry for him to a point, because he's also got an incredible deal. He's going to take a championship medal, or more than likely. He's probably going to take a Champions League medal. And at the end of the day, when his career's finished, nobody will be like, well, you only played 200 minutes that year. He's going to be a Premier League winner. And he had to leave. What's he meant to do? Say no to Manchester City and Pep Guardiola? At the end of the day, England's player of the year a couple of years ago, he built himself under Bielsa, but he's a very purpose-built player. And he stood out with a confidence level that the magician Marcelo Bielsa gave him. And he was playing like Luke Ayling, like Liam Cooper, like a load of the others, way beyond his skill ceiling under Bielsa. That's the truth. In that system, when it all clicked together perfectly, Patrick Bamford's another one in his best times, he was playing way beyond his ceiling, and he's gone into Manchester City, and he can compete because he's still a good player, but he's just not on that level. He's not that elite. Rodri is the best defensive midfielder in the world. He can't displace him. He can't even displace him a little bit. So I think he'll move on. I could see him very well ending up at Liverpool. I've heard strong links that he'll be at Liverpool. Makes sense. Henderson moving on or getting beyond it. Milner, Thiago probably leaving. There's Naby Keita leaving. There's a lot of rotation going to be going on in that midfield, and I could see him going there and starting games. Fabinho's not what he was, so I think I could definitely see him being at Liverpool next year, and it'd be a great move. And he'd play a lot of games. I still think he's got loads to offer. It was the right thing. Like any Leeds fan that laughs at it and has been like, "Oh, I should have stayed at Leeds." I'm like, no, should hell. Leeds are 17th in the division. Open your eyes. He's playing for the best team in the world, and he'll have improved so much over this last year as a player.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this is what I mean. Does he get one more chance at City next season? Could it all click in like it has done for other players, hasn't it?
Maybe. But the problem is Rodri's so good and so young. I mean, Rodri's I think 25.
Yeah, younger than him, isn't he? Yeah, younger than him. So it's a bit tricky when you're the understudy and you're older. Yeah, it doesn't quite work, does it?
Yeah.
Just before we wrap things up, then, Jason, going into the week, then Newcastle next weekend. Are you going to be watching the other games nervously?
Yeah. Oh my word, will I? Yeah, Monday especially. Forest, Southampton. I fully expect Brighton to beat Everton. It's at Brighton, I think, so I fully expect Brighton to take 3 points there. I could see Leicester getting something at Fulham. I don't think Leicester are really in it though, mate. No. It might just be. Of course, they are in it, but I just think that they've got enough in the player base to get the points that they need. In my opinion, I think it was disappointing that they didn't beat Everton. A lot of people wanted a draw, but I didn't. I wanted Leicester to win that game because as much as it keeps both of them in there, it would have also meant that Everton were a point further back. So I would have probably taken a Leicester win there. So I'll be watching behind the sofa, mate, and hoping that Southampton, as much as I then think, obviously Southampton are back in with a chance of staying up, 3 teams have to go. They have to. And for us, it's about finishing 17th. So keeping the team that's 17th or 18th as close as possible, i.e. Forest, with the fixtures that they've got as well, is more important than worrying about Southampton getting out of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
What about you?
Guys, thank you very much. I will be. I just think, it's kind of nice that it's not going to be our game watching our own team suffer, but do you see the Leicester-Everton game? And they both teams had an XG of over 3. Which is just absolutely bonkers.
Wide open one at the game.
Wide open. But it's
3 games to go. It's just all or nothing, isn't it, at the moment? And so many teams still involved. Much more than last year.
We can start enjoying the playoffs. They're going to be starting in the next couple of weeks or so. So try and distract myself from this terrible football situation that we find ourselves in. We play before everybody else next weekend as well. We play on telly at 12:30 on the Saturday.
Yeah, we do.
So
if we could get a good result and just ramp up the pressure. Oh, please.
What a massive it'd be. Imagine we take all 9.
Oh.
And
finish in front of Chelsea.
So easy.
Oh no, Chelsea.
So easy.
Well, do you know what? It's funny though, because we are playing Newcastle next week, and I almost look at like Newcastle in, I think it was January when Bielsa was still there, and we lost 1-0 at home, and we should have battered them. And Newcastle were really struggling at that point.
Yeah.
And they beat us 1-0 when they should have done.
They were poor that day. Mellier threw one in that day as well.
Yeah, he did. Yes, he did.
And we didn't sign anyone into January, and then all the problems happened. And it'd be nice if we could,
let's beat Newcastle this time and let's turn our fortunes around a little bit.
You're absolutely spot on. That game was very much a tipping point. Yeah. If you remember, we went on a terrible run after that, and we played them off the pitch that day. Well, I won't say maybe played them off the pitch, but with a better team.
It was a bit of Bielsa ball going on, not full Bielsa ball, but it was better than them. We were better than them. We shouldn't have lost it.
Shelby puts a tame free kick in and Mellier flaps it in. And it were a big moment with that because Newcastle were really bad. I think they'd lost 5 in a row going into that game.
Yeah.
Or something like that. Or not winning 7 or something.
Eddie Howe there as well.
It was. And, they didn't have the confidence or the team that they've got now.
No.
And that was before a lot of the signings. I think when was it January? I think it was before the signings really started coming in.
Yeah, it was kind of, I think it was about like Jan 20th or something. It was because I remember because we were, there was like the only thing we were linked with was Brendan Aronson, and it was like obviously not going to happen. And we'd beaten Burnley and West Ham, and you thought, oh, brilliant. If we'd have beaten Newcastle that day and got that 3rd win on the trot, it could have been different, but and then we didn't sign anyone, and the rest is history, as I say. So let's see Newcastle at home. Yeah. Newcastle at home this season. Let's see. It's going to be an interesting week. But thanks for watching, everyone. Please smash a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel for more Leeds content as well. Me and Jason might be back midweek at some point to see what the fallout is from the other Premier League games and see where we're at going into that game against Newcastle. I've been Stephen Brown. Thank you very much for joining us. I've been with Jason Booker. Jason, thank you, mate.
You're welcome. Thank you, mate.
And we'll be back again soon. Thank you.